Dear relatives, we come from the trenches in the fight against fossil fuels, from fracking sites and oil wells to pipelines and refineries to plastic plants and more. We are impacted Indigenous, brown, Black, and low-income communities living on the front lines of this climate emergency. Over the years, we have written thousands of messages to politicians, attended countless hearings, testified hundreds of times, and have placed our bodies on the line when needed. All the while, our government continues to ignore the science and Indigenous, traditional, ecological knowledge and steers us towards climate catastrophe. We have everything to lose and no time to wait. President Biden promised to address the climate emergency and a history of environmental justice. But so far, his administration continues to allow the fossil fuel industry to poison our communities and desolate our Mother Earth. The president could stop dangerous fossil fuel projects like Line 3 and Formosa Plastic Plant with a stroke of his pen. But his inaction is continuing widespread environmental injustice and the violation of Indigenous rights and the rights of nature. We will hold Biden to his Justice 40 initiative. We expect him to help stop the destruction of fenceline communities, homelands, and neighborhoods by the fossil fuel industry and demand equity, restorative justice actions for the same. We are asking you to stand with us. As representatives of communities who have carried the brunt of the harm from fossil fuels for generations, we ask you to join us in solidarity and risk arrest. In Washington, D.C., October 11th through the 15th, 2021, as part of the Peoples versus Fossil Fuels Week of Action. We will be going to Washington, D.C., to the White House itself to send a clear message. President Biden, in light of the upcoming COP26 United Nations Climate Summit, you cannot claim to be a climate leader when you are still supporting fossil fuels. Stand with frontline communities. Stand with future generations. Stop approving fossil fuel projects. Declare a climate emergency now. The UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC's 2021 report, led by hundreds of scientists, once again made it unmistakably clear. Climate change is here. It's a crisis, and it is caused by fossil fuels. The report tells us that the window to stop irreversible harm to all life on Earth is closing, while Congress wastes time bickering over baby steps. If we don't stand together now, no matter where we live, all of us, you, your children, and grandchildren, will all eventually live in sacrifice zones of drought, record temperatures, wildland fires, hurricanes, floods, food shortages, pandemics, and more. Transitioning away from fossil fuels cannot be put off any longer. We can either come together as a species now or make this planet uninhabitable for the foreseeable future. We know that participating in People versus Fossil Fuels is a big request. This would be a sacrifice of time, money, energy, and freedom, and all under the shadow of resurgence of COVID-19 cases. But we also know the despair that many of you feel, the anxiety of the moment, seeing environmental devastation and human rights abuses around you, but not knowing how to help. If you have ever marched, rallied, called your representatives, lobbied, signed petitions to urge governmental leaders to act, we call on you to take the next step. Nonviolent civil disobedience is a time-tested tactic for change. Every movement for change, from suffragettes to the civil rights movement, has proven that the defining moments are those where people are willing to risk arrest. If we all come together, put our bodies on the line in the name of climate justice, we may be able to change the course of history. Please consider joining us October 11th through the 15th for one day, for the entire week, or whatever time you can offer. We stand in solidarity for the protection of Mother Earth and the next 7 generations of life.